Well, everyone, welcome to GuildIt. And we are excited to have you, and we're excited to have Xavier Gayden. And before we introduce him, I would like to tell you just a little bit about GuildIt so you know what you're in for today. So we're Kansas City-based art nonprofit, but we broadcast to the nation. Our team is small but mighty. And I want to give special thanks to Weinberger Fine Art, where we're at, and their beautiful art gallery with their great artists. And we also give thanks to all our other supporters. So what you're in for today is that our artists will talk about his business for 10 to 15 minutes, and then we'll have 40 minutes of Q&A, both live and online on Facebook Live. And after that, we'll do some business announcements about what's happening in the scene here. So without further ado, let me introduce Xavier. Illustrator Xavier Gayden of Boxhead Arts has been captivating and challenging his audiences for 15 years with his colorful characters of common cartoons and unique introspective beings. He has exhibited at local art fairs, plus numerous anime and cartoon conventions throughout Kansas City, Texas, and Ohio. He has been a contributor to the Topeka's Brown versus Board mural and has been part of the NOVA program, which helps build inner city youth's entrepreneurial skills. So I welcome Xavier.
Okay. Hello? Awesome. Hi, my name is Xavier. I am the founder of Boxhead Arts. So before we get started, if you have any questions, feel free to ask. Also, let's just go over the name real fast because a lot of people ask about the name. When I was in high school, I always drew all the time, and I had this character that was always in the background, kind of dancing, and he had a box for a head, as you can clearly see. And also, I was also considered a square. So if you make a square 3D, it's a box. So just kind of played off that, the aspect of the character and the aspect of what I actually was. So let us dive in. Oh, okay. So here are the points that we'll be hitting: the origin story, the goals, the challenges, and the needs. Uh, let's go. Okay. So the origin. I am originally not from Kansas City. I am from California. I was born in California, raised in Washington, Seattle, partially raised. And then I came to Kansas City when I was 11. And I've been here ever since. So I've been here going on 20 years, long time. But yeah, I actually developed my art in Kansas City. So it was coupled with like the move and the depression of like leaving a really stable spot into something completely different, and not really being able to express myself with the move because there's a lot of moving parts. There's 11-year-old, and I have three older brothers that are my older brother that was right above me. He was 12 or 13, so he was going into high school. And the one above that, he was 16 and he was already in high school. So it was a lot of moving parts with the move and very, very complicated, needless to say. But yeah, so a lot of my inspiration came from that time period, the landing of the move and moving forward. So I'll give you a second to read this. I'm sorry. I'll give you a second to read this. But pretty much throughout my art history, I have developed characters based on family members and based on myself, heavily upon myself. I've actually been in the process of creating a graphic novel with these characters. Some of these characters, if they were children, they would be entering high school next year. So yeah, they're pretty old. But as we go through the slide, you will be able to see some of the characters, and I'll tell you a little bit more about them as we come across them. Okay. So this is Susie. She is a character. She would be 9 years old this year, and she is an original character of mine, and she is one of my most popular pieces. Out of state, out of Kansas City, Texas, and Ohio, they know this piece. Yeah. Actually, I've been to shows where people would like flip through my book and this piece will come up and I'm like, I've seen this somewhere. I know this. I know this piece. I was like, that's amazing. I love it so much. And I also did a recreation of it at the what is it? Uh, the word is escaping me, but it was a place on the plaza, West Elm. I did a recreation of it at the West Elm Plaza for their Black History Month. I want to say 2 years ago now, during COVID. So, yeah, this is an extremely popular piece of mine, and this is my second most popular piece. I created it, I want to say, of March of last year. But every time I show it, everyone's like, oh my gosh," and honestly, I really like it. This picture was just me kind of having fun. There was no real rhyme or reason. This character is a recreation of an original character. His name is Patrick, and Patrick would be 14 years old this year. So yeah, so my characters are getting kind of up there in age. So this one was just me getting as funky with it as I possibly could. This character's name is Old Head. This comes from growing up in urban areas, the hood, if you like, and hearing stories of like the elders back in my day. I used to break it down on the dance floor, or like, oh man, if he went in that wheelchair, he'll be cutting it up, So kind of stuff like that. So it just kind of inspired me to create this character. He's a very new character, but create this kind of vibe to it. And this picture, oh man. So this is polar opposite. In 2019, right after my mother passed. But this is character. His name is Abel, and Abel, jeez, Abel will be 16 this year, and Abel is one of my first original characters. So with Abel or Adam, down, jeez, with Adam, he never shows his face. So I kind of got the concept from the Bible. In one of the verses, it says that you should never see the face of God lest you be cursed or something along those lines. And I took that and was like, what if there was a person that was very kind and friendly, but just never knew what they actually looked like? So his hair is always over his face, always. In every picture, his hair is over his face. And I'm learning that it's kind of creepy, but I like the aspect. It leaves an air of mystery with him just in general. So yeah, that is Adam and his smoke break. So in the end of last year, I did a mural at Core Coffee, right on the side. Um, it is my biggest piece to date, and this is the original concept that we like discussed for about a month and a half, how it would look, how it would go, and this is what we came up with, and this is the actual piece. You can still see my ladder. I was doing some touch-ups, but this is the finished piece, and it took me 4 or 5 weeks to do, but it was only because of the weather. I will say that if conditions were perfect, it would have been done in 3 days. But there it is, my goals. So here's a cool thing before we go any further. The piece for my goals and I want to say my needs are from my original coloring books that are being released this year. The first one just came out on Monday, but I haven't advertised for it because I want to sell it in person. And this is the second cover. It is also coming out in March, and they are coupled together. So one without the other, it's like sun and moon kind of feel, but all the same kind of vibe. but for my goals. So, to tell a story about handling loss. So, in 2018, I lost my mother to breast cancer. And it devastated my family. Like, she was the glue to everything. And me or my brothers have never really recovered. So I wanted to tell a story about how you can recover. It's not the end of the world. If anything, it's the beginning of a new chapter. And that's actually where all my characters come into play at. Susie, Abel, Adam, Patrick, they are all telling the same story of losing a mother or a central point in someone's life. And it is very, very weird and superhero-y because I am a comic person. But it is retelling my mother's story at the end of the day and how it impacted me and my brothers. So, yeah, my next goal is to travel. So I've been to Ohio, Texas, a couple of other places, Phoenix, stuff like that. But I want to travel the country and the world, actually. Uh, and I really I have this weird goal of going to another country and seeing a child's face light up while holding my book or a piece of art. And that just makes me feel complete. Even though we may not even share the same language, they can come up and, just this is what I've been looking for. 7-year-old child that's been looking for this piece their whole life. So it's kind of along those lines. I just love experiencing people experiencing my art. And the goal is to have that resonance with children. I know when I was growing up, I was really, really into Arthur. And he was my inspiration to start drawing. I just liked how the lines were and how you could tell a story and no actual person had to be there. So it kind of just, a reflection of my childhood and basically passing on the ledger of creation and illustration. So this is the first book that came out. It came out on Monday, but these are my challenges. And this book looks so good. I wish I would have bought it, but this book looks so good. But yeah, let's move forward. So lack of exposure is a very big thing for me. I am, for lack of better words or phrasing, not that tech savvy. If you put me in front of the right people, I can talk their ear off and it'll be fine. But I just don't know how to present myself to those people. And I know a lot of the world is tech-based now, internet-based, social media-based. And I'm just it's really hard for me to get a grasp of it. I am dyslexic. So just having to read on top of understand, on top of comprehend, on top of replying in a decent manner, it's a lot for me. But that is one of my biggest challenges that I've been overcoming year after year, getting stronger and stronger. But that is by far one of my biggest challenges. My second challenge has always been the diversity. Growing up in an urban area in the hood, no one really considered art being an outlet. It was always manual labor or a desk job. And whenever I would present to someone I kind of want to be an artist, at 14, I knew I was going to be an artist. If anything else happened, I was going to be an artist. And they were like, no, you can't. And I was like, but why can't I? And they're like, they don't make any money. They die young. They overdose on drugs. You don't know what you're getting into. And I'm just like, I don't have to do any of those things though. Like that doesn't really compute to Xavier. I just like creating, and I understood where it came from. It came from like, I'm trying to protect you. I'm trying to give you the easiest life. And I understand that aspect, but at the end of the day, I am going to create. And if I'm going to create, I might as well do something with that creation than have it sit on nothing. So my needs, tech, as we talked about a little bit ago. Um, Tech, as we talked about a little bit ago, I have been doing everything on my tablet, and my tablet is now 3 years old. And every time I open it, it lets me know that I need more storage. So I have been looking into getting a new tablet, but that has been a very big struggle for me. I also need an actual computer, like a desktop, that would actually help me look at things much clearer, because my tablet is kind of small and I do have glasses on. So I am kind of blind. But yeah, and resources and materials. So I run out of resources and materials all the time, whether it comes to canvases or opportunities or what have you. I'm running through things at a ridiculous rate because I produce so much. I just produce like it's no one's business. I think this year alone, I've made about 30 or 40 pieces, and the year just started. So I am very big with like production, but at that same time, I do not have the means to continue production on a consistent schedule. So I could, for example, I could do January and I'll be fine, and I'll run out of materials January 26th, and then I can't do anything until March 16th because of a show that I did, kind of situation, you know? So, and I do not like how big that time gap is, because it kind of leaves me to my own devices, and I don't like that. I like continuing to produce. I like producing. It is a part of my expression. So, yeah. And contact info. You can find me on Instagram at boxhead_arts, or Facebook at boxhead arts. You can also go to my website, which needs to be updated, but my website is boxheadarts.com. And if you would like to reach out for a piece or for a commission, please feel free to DM me on either of those websites or social media platforms. And feel free to just say whatever. I'm pretty open. And I'm pretty clear about where I want to go and how I want to maneuver through my art life. And that is my presentation.
Great, thank you. That was a wonderful personal story. I enjoyed it. The insight, yeah, and how you go about running your business. You know, I can tell you in just the few short weeks I've been working with Xavier, and especially the last few days where he came up with the graphics for this presentation, it's just amazing how the creativity just pours out of him. I mean, he did pieces for Valentine's Day. I've seen on social media. I was also seeing, you know, we had a big winter storm, and the next thing I know, I was looking at social media and he had a piece up yet that morning based on the storm. So I love the way he expresses himself very personally, and what's going on around him as well. So you can get a special piece from him for a special someone very easily. So yeah, but why don't we start the Q&A, and I'll have you go back to
Sure.
one of your slides. Yeah, let's start at the goals.
Okay.
So does anyone have any questions, not just on the goals or anything in general they would like to ask? Yes, hold on, I have a question over here.
this is purely selfish. How do I get one of those books that just came out on Monday?
You just contact me.
Great. And then, are you working with a publisher or is it your self-publishing?
So with my coloring books, they are self-published through Amazon.
Uh-huh.
But I just like having them physical copies to sell.
Yeah.
That's why I don't really promote the Amazon website, because you're not gonna find me. But for my graphic novel, I am working with a Black-owned distributing company called Black Moon Comics, and I've been working with him closely for the past 4 or 5 months now. To develop my graphic novel, and hopefully I can have the first issue out this year, which I'm super excited about.
And what are their promotions like? Do you have to self-promote, or will they help you?
It is self-promotion,
Okay.
But that's not too hard for me. I've been talking about the book for years now. I have like hundreds of followers that are just waiting for the book to drop.
Now, are you looking at adults, or are you introducing it to children, or?
So I have 2 different stories that I'm developing. One for teenage to adults, which is dealing with the grief, and another set of books dealing with different children's mental perspectives.
Okay.
So that one is going to be directly aimed at children, but it's more so accepting different mental illnesses that they come across as a child.
Okay. Yeah, because there's 2 artists who've been through GuildIt who work specifically with children, and I can introduce you to them. One's a former Hallmarker. The other one is he's a performer, but he's worked within the high school realm, developing entrepreneurial skills within high school students, particularly in the performing arts and music business. So, but they have some resources you could probably tap into.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. I would love that.
Yeah. So, other questions? Yeah, a question over here.
So, like, you've done a couple of murals before. I wanted to know, like, how you, like, the process, like your layout process.
Okay, so with the Brown vs. Board mural, the 22 artists, we had a lead artist. His name was Michael Toombs, and he basically gave us a spot, gave us an outline of what we were supposed to draw, and we were supposed to recreate it in our style. And then he placed everything together, and then he took a big projector and just projected for each of us to go as we went. But if we're talking about like me by myself, I like to, so I have this weird thing in my mind where I can look at a piece and copy it onto the wall mentally. And that's typically what I do for the most part. And if I have some lack or something needs to be rearranged, I can actually rearrange it while I'm working. And actually, most times, it turns out better than the original. So, yeah.
So, like, no gridding, like, when you're doing it yourself, there's, like, no gridding. You just, like, do it.
When I'm by myself, there's no grid. But when I'm with someone, I use the grid to make them feel better.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Have you considered getting, like, a Patreon or something? Because you said, like...
I have a Patreon.
You do?
I do.
Why didn't you make it?
I'm so bad with that thing. I'm so bad with it. But yeah, I have a Patreon and I have like 3 followers now, which is amazing. But I typically, with my Patreon, I talk about like different perspectives, a character or 2, or just how my day's been going whenever I post a piece. But yeah, I'm really bad with the promotion of the Patreon. I'm so bad with it.
That's all right. And also, like, I wanted to talk about, like, your composition. Like, is that, like, something that you've measured? Like, or is it, like, another, like, spur of the moment thing while you're drawing?
Little bit of both. A lot of head measuring. if that makes sense. Like still in my mind,
Oh,
kind of.
okay.
Yeah. For me personally, a lot of the functioning of my creations happen in my mind. So like, and this used to be just me in high school. I didn't need a pencil. I could just do it with a pen, and there would be no extra markings. There would be no. It would just be that because I knew exactly what I was doing and how it would come out every time. I taught myself how to use a pencil in the past few years just because, making other people feel better. Uh, you know, but typically I know exactly what I'm going to do and how it's going to come out, even if I know I'm not at the skill level to finish or have it look how I want it to look. So that's the best way I can kind of describe that.
So like all natural.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Do you think like you've evolved that much, or is it just I don't know?
I've evolved so much. I have. And I understand why people say, you should use pencil, you should like structure before you create the character or like before you do the scenery. I understand that now. I didn't when I was younger because I was doing me. But with those backings, it kind of placed me into a space where I could create without thinking, because originally I would have to think about something that was like really, really passionate about or that I found interesting. But now I can just actually before you guys got here, I was just on my tablet and I was just going. There was nothing in my mind. It was just straight whistling sounds, But since I have that backing now, I can actually move like that, which is kind of cool.
Okay.
Well, yeah.
I got one more before I
Sure.
tire you out.
Sure.
So like you got like inspiration from like what cartoons and like stuff,
Okay.
like what kind?
Okay,
Like,
so growing up, there was Dexter's Laboratory.
yes.
Love Dexter's Laboratory. And then Samurai Jack. Oh my gosh.
I love Samurai Jack.
Oh my gosh. So a really weird coincidence. So I don't know if you guys ever heard of Class of 3000. It was a really, really small show that was popular for maybe a year in 2008. Was not popular at all for a very long time. But it was created by Andre 3000, the musician. And his creativity, everything went into the 2 seasons of Class of 3000. And if you look at my work, it is and a friend pulled me aside last year and was like, "Hey, did you know that it looks exactly like," and I'm like, I never in my life thought about that. I mean, I watch the show all the time, but I never really thought about that. So I went back and I rewatched the show and I was like, oh my gosh. I didn't realize how much of a big inspiration Andre 3000, Class of 3000 really was for me. And I was like, that is amazing. But for storytelling purposes, Hey Arnold. Yeah. Yeah. So I don't know if you guys remember Hey Arnold, but he was the smoothest 9-year-old in existence. He was great. He was amazing, and he was so, for lack of better terms, he was so woke for a 9-year-old. He was so eco-friendly, environment friendly, just friendly in general. He was very much there to help, to inspire those around him, which is wild because he's 9, but he was just an amazing person to look up to with my personal life and with characters because of how he moved as a cartoon. So those cartoons were my biggest inspirations, and clearly Samurai Jack for the action. So
I saw some Samurai Jack in there. I just knew it.
Yeah.
All right. Other questions? All right. I have been, there was a couple I was going to ask. And so have you, Artist Inc., which also teaches business programming here in Kansas City, actually regionally throughout Texas and Kansas, Missouri, et cetera. They talk about the artist should have a stool to support himself. So it's like three legs of revenue. So you have your shows, you have your books coming out. And I love the books because they're what you call making money while you sleep.
Yeah.
So, and I would encourage you to think of another leg, whether it's licensing beyond books. For instance, and I don't know if you know this, Jan, but Casey Styles opened up in the plaza. Yeah, and so they work with local artists to license their work on various things, from T-shirts to prints to cards to, yeah. So so that's something to look into. There's also there are actually a couple of different Casey store chains, so that you could look into
Definitely.
featuring your art in.
Thank you.
And
I would definitely do that.
yeah, but also think about you talked about how it just the images come out from you.
Yeah.
So you could also look into doing live art performances.
I did my first one in about 6 or 7 years last year for an award ceremony with the program Gift for like Black-owned businesses. They were having an award ceremony for, I think, congratulating one of their artists, which was a chef, for getting a big award or something along those lines. But I was the live art.
Did you like that?
It was really fun. I loved it.
Well, and don't be afraid to bring up that image again and and post it and say, hey, this was a great experience for everyone. I'd love to do it again, and just let it float out there.
Definitely.
Yeah, and also you can. I don't know if you are on the directory for Arts KC, but that's so Arts KC is just located at the other end of this block, and they are the regional organization for the Kansas City area, pulling all the arts. They're the umbrella for like GuildIt as well as for artists, and they helped us launch for artists as well as a couple other art organizations launched. And then I would encourage you to get to know those people, or have those people get to know you. And one way that could be is through, if you want to travel, do you know Psych the Muralists?
Yes, I do.
Okay, so Psych applied for an Arts KC grant, and he was able then to, and that was to work with a community down in the Bahamas, where his family's origin from, and to work with that community on a mural. So Arts KC paid for his travel. They give up to $5,000, and it may be increasing because they got a lot of funding this year from the county.
That's awesome.
So either the amount may be increasing, or the number they're giving away may be increasing, because I just got a nice little grant from that increase. I would recommend you finding out, going to their website and finding out when their next deadline is.
Definitely.
And look at the application and consider applying for, pick a place that you want to go and find an emotional connection to it.
Yeah.
And produce art there and share it back with here in Kansas City.
Definitely, yes. I would love to do that.
So, yeah. So other questions that have come up? Because I can keep on going, but here.
So I am not an artist. So when you say you were on your laptop and things were just flowing, are you drawing on your laptop?
Yes.
Are you?
Yes. So I have an app called Procreate.
Yes.
And it's just like drawing on a sheet of paper, but with every tool next to you.
Yeah.
So that's typically what I use. That has been my ace in the hole for the past 3 years since I've had my tablet. Whenever I don't have paper, or whenever I don't have means to make or go get a canvas, I use Procreate. So I think at the moment, because it is telling me to get more space, I think I have over 600 or 700 pieces in my Procreate folder. So majority of them aren't shown just because I don't like them. But yeah, so that's pretty much where a majority of my work goes.
So that's where you created the images for your books.
Yes.
Great. Great. Also, don't be surprised if those images you don't like end up being one of your best sellers. I can remember I was part of a freelance group for advertising people, and we had a photographer put forth like 3 pieces for the group to decide on which one should be his showcase piece. And he liked the very technical one.
Yeah.
And we all gravitated to the one that showed the emotions, because they were all regarding a wedding book he was putting out for advertising. And we liked the one that showed the greatest emotion. And so it's something that you may not like. It could be something that everybody else likes for different reasons.
Yeah.
So, and that's just amazing, what you put out and what you produce. And yeah. So,
Thank you.
Other questions? Well, I have one too. And two, Arts KC does art shows as well. If you want to reach out to them on that,
Definitely.
as well as the grants. But I encourage you to, I know you're well connected with Inner Urban Art House, right? And what have you done with them?
So this past year, until the beginning of the summer, I have been a resident at their facilities.
Oh, good.
Yeah, it's actually pretty cool. I haven't been out there much because I was in the process of like buying a new car and everything else. But yeah, I've produced some of my favorite pieces there, which is amazing. I love the space and I love the environment. It's awesome.
Yeah. Well, great. Well, I encourage you to connect with like Charlotte Street Arts KC, and some of the other art groups in town, because the more you're connecting with them, the more opportunity you'll hear about. You can just attend one of their programs, like Charlotte Street just did an open forum on different aspects of programming throughout Kansas City, art programming throughout Kansas City, from studio spaces to the need for more business advice and such. So, and I would just encourage you to find out what's happening and introduce yourself to the staff there, because I think you're a rare gem, and people need to know about you so you can get more support from the Kansas City art scene, because I think you're very deserving of it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. All right. We have a question on Facebook, and I'll hand the microphone over to Sam.
Yeah, we have a question. The question on Facebook Live is, have you considered teaching sessions on how to create your style of art?
No. I've taught classes before, but not on my particular style. Typically, the kind of customers I have don't really want to do it themselves. They just want the art. And especially when it comes to kids, they really don't want to learn how to do all the swoops and swirls of my line work. So I've never really thought about that. I mean, I know different styles. I know how to create and mimic and whatnot. So I've taught those type of styles, like the basic, realism and things like that, but not my individual style. So that's actually a really cool question. I've never thought about that.
Actually, and I don't know why. A great artist and educator in Kansas City is Natasha Ray. Have you heard of Natasha Ray?
The name sounds really familiar.
Yeah, she has she owns a couple of different organizations. She has Black Spaces for Black art. So so it's companies owned by Black businesses.
Yeah.
And they host Black artists solely. And she connects those artists with those businesses.
Oh, wow.
She also has a gallery on 39th Street called Natasha Ray Gallery, and it just features primarily Black artists. So, and she's an educator too. She taught Upward Bound for a decade.
I know that
plus.
program though.
What?
I know that program.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'll connect you with her too, because
Yes, please.
things just pop in her mind that are golden. So
Awesome. Yes,
yeah,
please.
yeah. All right. But yeah, and thank you for the question online. That was a great. That was a
yeah.
great question. So
Yeah.
all right. And now, have you thought about doing fine art shows?
That is one of the things I'm trying to break into.
Mm-hmm.
I am trying to develop a style that complements me, but also the space as well. I haven't really got a hold of it as much as I would like to. But that's what I've been trying to create for the past year now. It's just a new style to go specifically in fine art spaces, which is really hard, but
Yeah.
you know.
What? Yeah.
That is a great question.
Or it could be, just looking at these pieces here, and too. So Natasha's a great gallery to introduce Black artists to. Jones Gallery has various floors of arts.
I've been to Jones Gallery.
Okay, so yeah, and I love how in this gallery you're surrounded by these pieces where half is solid and half is abstract, or you could easily do half solid, half illustrated.
Yeah.
Or you can divide your illustration into 4 and just paint one on top of one of the 4 canvases. And I mean, you can do all kinds of things with your existing art and just emphasize it more to make it fine art.
Yeah.
But if you want to do something totally different too, you can do that. Because I think
honestly, I was trying to. So the reason why I wanted it to be a different style is because I want to have 5 styles under my belt, So I want to go places, and people are like, "Oh wow, this is amazing," and not know it's still me. Yeah, so it's all for me. It's not for anyone else. My work can get into a gallery just fine, but I want people to be like, well, "Who's this guy?" Like, "Oh, okay, it's clearly him." But now that you said something, I can see that it's him. But other than that, this is completely different. So I really like that.
Yeah, the one thing I liked about your pieces was you use characters in thoughtful ways that everybody could relate to. And even though, and some of those characters seemed like self-portraits,
Yes.
I could relate to them because I've had that mood. And so yeah, I like how I can understand having different styles to appeal to different genres, as well as different revenue streams, as well as different people.
Yes.
Did we have a question over here? Yeah. Hold on.
Oh, and I also have this weird thing of, so I want to tell my graphic novel through characters, and I want to have different styles for each character. Yeah, so you can tell their mental space while you're reading.
I'm curious. You've talked about your needs and your goals, and you've talked about some of your challenges. What is ideal for you? As you picture what you want to be doing, what's the ideal thing you picture?
Having a bigger tablet. And having a desktop. I know a laptop is fine, but a actual desktop would be ideal. It's situationally, because it's just bigger screen. And I just got my glasses. I've been out of glasses for 8 years. So I'm they're readjusting to having glasses. So I am completely blind without them. So yeah, just having the desktop for actual work purposes, writing up letters, revisiting my website, things like that.
I'm more asking ideally what your life will be like. I mean,
Oh.
are you in galleries? Are you doing books? What are that kind of stuff is what I'm looking for.
So the idea is to be in. As a little bit of story. There's a art gallery in London. I met the curator when I was in high school, and she was like, "Your work is terrible. You should not be looking at London for anything." And I want to go to that gallery, and I want to put my work up there and make her eat every word that she has. So having that, I also, and this is like a big stretch, I want my graphic novel to turn into a cartoon show. And that is like the biggest goal for me, because reading something is awesome, but interacting with it is a whole nother story. And I would love to have my art interact with teenagers, children, adults. That aspect is the biggest goal I could have. But yeah, like being able to basically step into any art space and fill it with my art and everyone enjoy it.
And real quick, I just wanted to add on from Facebook Live. It was Jerron Robinson who was asking about whether you taught. And he suggested he reach out to Wine Colors Art Plus Sip. Jerron is actually the founder of the organization.
Oh, wow.
He actually presented his business at 1 Million Cups yesterday, which I can set you up with the recording of that presentation.
Please.
But he does have his contact information, which I will also pass on to you.
Yes, please.
But let me just so they bring visual and performing artists together to expose them to community members and areas of art in their communities.
Awesome. I would love that. Yeah.
Terrific. So, other questions before I dive into another one? Yeah. So, do you have a date in which you'll be producing your graphic novel? And have you worked out the number of ideal sales you want to have and over the period of time?
I'm looking for May, sometime in May,
Okay.
to have the graphic novel out. I am also looking to at least have 2,000 sold by the end of the year.
Good.
So, just not a big number, but like an attainable one, something that is reachable for me, that I'm not stressing over by the end of the year, but also big enough to where I know it's in someone's house. So, yeah.
Okay, good. And then what are the deadlines for some of your other goals?
Okay, so the graphic novel this year.
Mm-hmm.
For the coloring book, the second one, the end of March, and I want to put them together to be a hardback coloring book at the end of this year. I know those are like really small goals, but they're awesome for me. I also want to have my work and myself up and thriving by the time I turn 30, which is in 2 years. But I want to have enough income and revenue where I'm not questioning if this is the right decision.
Yeah. No, that's a very good goal. I know we had an artist last year who's like, he's wanting to pay off a student loan by the time he was 30, and he hit that ambitious goal.
Yeah.
So I think that's a healthy goal to have. And that's telling him too, he's doing all right because he's making that goal.
Yeah, exactly.
And then what do you plan on packaging the books too, or so the coloring books with the graphic novel and having a package sale?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So I will more than likely be doing 2 different packages. So with the 2 coloring books, I'll do 1 coloring book with the graphic novel, and for children, the graphic novel I have a children's coloring book as well with the children's coloring book.
Okay.
So yeah.
Good. Good. And I can put you in touch with someone who's done coloring books and sells, and she has worked with, with a publisher to promote those. But
Okay, awesome. Yeah.
yeah. All right. And she also does shows. She's a psychic too, as well as an artist. So she has
Oh, wow.
psychic shows she does, and where she sells her art. All right. Good. Then, what do you have planned then for 2024?
2024 to have my second chapter for my graphic novel come out.
Uh-huh.
And reestablish everyone with all my characters. That is a big thing for me. I do it from time to time throughout the years, because I have my characters so long. But I really want people to know my characters, and to, while the story is going along, that is me, and this is how I would respond. I really want that to be the main thing for at least the first 2 chapters of my book.
Okay. All right, great. So we have time for just 2 more questions. Does anybody else have any questions? Yes, right over here.
So are you into doing the animation yourself, or are you going to farm it out to a company? What are you thinking about that?
So I've always been really hands-on. So I'm like, if I can learn how to do it, I will do it. But I've also heard that there are like companies that will just do it for me. And I'm like, that sounds suspicious. But yeah, honestly, if a company would do it, I would definitely have some reservations, but I would definitely be there every step of the way, or I would just do it myself.
So I just had an intern last semester who was all into animation and went to Savannah College of Art and Design for animation. And it's just fun to hear what these young kids are wanting to do and how they're wanting to be maybe involved with a big company that does it, but they'd really love to work with someone like you who
That's awesome.
Great. Well, we have time to have you leave with the audience your final thoughts as to how we can help you grow your business as a community. So let us know what you would like us to do
Okay. Well,
the most.
purchasing my work.
Okay.
And also, this is gonna sound weird, but seeing if you go somewhere and you see a local artist, purchasing their work, because that builds the art community wherever I am. So it's a weird thing where I'm basically just trying to say support everyone, because by supporting everyone, you support the individual. So yeah, but also buying my work is nice.
Great. And then you're selling your work through your website.
Yes.
And then are you selling it through the shows that you do and other methods?
Yeah, you can DM me on Instagram or Facebook, and with the picture that you would like, and then we can go through the different aspects of how you would go about purchasing.
Okay. Terrific.
Yeah.
Well, thank you.
Definitely.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Let's give a round of applause. It was great to share your talent. We've enjoyed that. And I just have a couple more slides to go through about GuildIt. I think I'm going the right way. Yeah. So, and actually I didn't mention Art in the Loop. So this is a way for visual and performing artists to show their work, and it's exhibited through downtown. If you've never had to do public art before, don't worry. They take people who've not done public art before, and they are able to make it work for the streetcar stops, and for the buildings that could that are along the streetcar route. So I would look into Art in the Loop project. They do great exposure to the artists as well. It's not only do they pay you for the art, but they do great promotions, and people, it's a well-established downtown business group that hosts Art in the Loop.
Awesome. Thank you
So yeah,
much.
so and for the rest of you, the deadline is March 17th. They have an information session on March 1st. And I would go to Art in the Loop KC to find out more. And of course, the application is on that site too. All right. And then one last thing, tell your friends about GuildIt. You can donate at our website or on Facebook free of charge. And we encourage you to stay and network if you're here with us today. And of course, you can reach out to Xavier anytime. He's very responsive through social media and by his work. So thank you.